Off the top, the prosecution's star witness, former Trump fixer Michael Cohen, took the witness stand in Manhattan this week as former President Donald Trump fights 34 felony charges for falsifying business records. Prosecutors told the judge that Cohen would be their final witness. Both sides still have questions for the lawyer that will run into next week. This week, Cohen testified for 3 days and for the first time directly connected Trump to the hush money payment made to adult film star Stormy Daniels. He also told the jurors that Trump was part of a meeting with Cohen and former Trump org CFO Allen Weisselberg, where they concocted the scheme to repay Cohen over time and to document the payments as legal services rendered.
Then a little bit later, Hoffinger asks, did Mr. Weisselberg state in front of Mr. Trump that you were going to receive $420,000 over the course of 12 months? Cohen, yes. Hoffinger, and what, if anything, did Mr. Trump say at the time? Cohen says he approved it, and he also said this is going to be one heck of a ride in D.C. Question from Hoffinger, and did Mr. Weisselberg say in front of Mr. Trump that those monthly payments would be, you know, like a retainer for legal services? Michael Cohen says yes.
That's the heart of the case, whether Trump knowingly covered up hush money payments, listing them as legal services. But is it enough to convict Trump beyond a reasonable doubt, which is what's required? Maybe not.
The idea that sort of Trump is saying, do what you just do and take care of it, I don't think that's really crosses the line of where the prosecution needs to be. And I say that because they also talked about Allen Weisselberg and his input into what would be done and setting up the company and even the tape recording that we heard from Cohen.
Prosecutors played a recorded conversation between Trump and Cohen from September 2016 where they discuss trying to catch and kill Karen McDougal's story. That's the former Playboy model who says she had a year-long affair with Trump. Now, Trump can be heard saying on that tape recording, so what do we got to pay for this? $150? And the recording then abruptly cuts off. Cohen says it's because he got a call in the middle of it, and that appears to be corroborated by the phone data that we saw in court this week. But the defense tried to suggest it may have been doctored earlier in the trial. Cohen testified about being a part of the cult of Donald Trump while he was on the stand, lying and bullying for his former boss, even as the FBI raided his office, apartment, and hotel room back in 2018. Cohen said he felt comforted at the time because Trump was the president, and he had reassured him that everything would be okay. Trump was also paying his legal fees at the time, and Cohen was part of a joint defense agreement. A joint defense agreement is a contract between the subjects of an investigation signed by separately represented parties and their attorneys agreeing to coordinate with each other and share information against a mutual opponent. For example, Trump and Cohen versus prosecutors. Now, people in a joint defense agreement cannot disclose the information exchanged among the parties to anyone outside the joint defense agreement, especially the government. It's a way for the parties to kind of know if the government's saying the same thing to all of the parties or different things to try and get one to flip on the other. But flip Cohen did. He told the jury that his family ultimately convinced him to tell the truth, and he pleaded guilty to federal charges, including lying to Congress and campaign finance violations related to the underlying crimes that are charged against Trump in this case. And on cross-examination, Trump's defense team tried to emphasize how many times Cohen has lied to Congress, to his wife when he took out a home equity loan of credit to pay Stormy Daniels off, to the New York Times, to the Wall Street Journal when he denied making the payments in the first place. Their theme was clear from the beginning. Cohen is the problem here, not Trump. And in fact, Trump attorney Todd Blanche opened with this gambit about Cohen's recent social media posts. Quote, "You went on TikTok and called me a crying little expletive just before this began?" Question. Sounds like something, I would say. Blanche is a former federal prosecutor from the Southern District of New York. He wanted to set the stage before he battered Cohen with questions, trying to paint him as a Trump-obsessed liar. All the defense needs to get a win here is for one juror to have reasonable doubt about the prosecution's case. And once the prosecution rests their case, Trump's team has the chance to put on witnesses in his defense. But I wouldn't expect a long, drawn-out process here. Sometimes a defendant chooses not to even call a single witness, instead relying on the prosecution's heavy burden and their own cross-examinations of the prosecution's witnesses. It is the state's burden to prove to all 12 jurors that Trump is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.